not hear the chaos that's going on in my house at the moment. If there's a little bit of background noise, there's kids in the house and they're making a bit of noise, so I apologise. We're looking here at Act 4, Scene 2, and this is a scene in which the idea, Shakespeare in Act 4 is building towards the end of the play. And we're on page 47 of our Paper 2 notes book. Again, your job is to read this summary. I'm just highlighting a couple of things. For this play to end in the way a tragedy has to end, the natural order, which is disrupted at the beginning, in this case by the abdication, has to be restored. So, to put it in a very simple, childish terms, the baddies have to lose, and there has to be some sense of a positive future for the country. So, in this scene, we are given some hope in the form of Albany. Albany is Goneril's husband, as you know, and Goneril we see in the scene, underestimates her husband's worth. He condemns her, he criticises her, chastises her, upbraids her for her treatment of her father, which he says is reprehensible and awful, and she dismisses him. At this stage in the play, Goneril is having an affair with Edmund. Edmund has seduced both Goneril and Regan in his pursuit of power, and we can see that there's going to be not only conflict in the kingdom between perhaps the forces of Albany and Cornwall, or Goneril and Regan's forces as they vie for supremacy, and then between the British forces and the French forces who have arrived under Cordelia's command, but also, of course, then the conflict that could perhaps occur between Goneril and Regan as a result of their desire for Edmund. So loads and loads and loads of things going on. I'll just go through the key scenes. The key quotes from this scene. And before I do, just again, dramatically significant scene for the following reasons. That rivalry between the sisters, which will result in disaster at the end of the play, really gathers pace in this scene. Goneril's love for Edmund is interesting because she lied to her father at the beginning of the play in order to empower herself. She protested her love for her father, and those words were insincere. And now here she is at the end of the play, and she seems to be really sincerely in love with Edmund. And we all know, because of dramatic irony, that Edmund is not capable really of loving anybody but himself. So there's an irony in there that he is seducing her by flattering her in pursuit of power, which mirrors what she did at the start of the play. And of course, then we have Albany. And what Albany's going to do in the rest of the play, how he's going to navigate this difficult journey between defending his country, therefore fighting the French forces, but also not aligning himself with Goneril and Regan and all their corruption. So he's going to be play a very interesting role for the rest of the play. So when we look at the key quotes, nothing hugely important to start. This is Oswald reporting the change in Albany's attitude. Madam Ne'er-a-man's so changed, what most he should like seems pleasant to him, what like offensive. And that should be dislike, my apologies. What most he should dislike seems pleasant to him, what like offensive. So in other words, Albany is supposed to be, in love with Goneril and praising Goneril and supporting Goneril, but in fact, he's not, and his sympathies lie with Cordelia and with Lear. Goneril dismisses him as a coward. She says it is the cowish terror of the spirit that dares not undertake. So she says, my husband is a coward. That's why he's afraid of what's coming. She's wrong about that. She underestimates Albany and pays a big price for that misjudgment at the end of the play. And then you get the important quotes from this scene. And these are really important. This is where Goneril displays her. In the world of the play, to Shakespeare's audience, this would have been shocking. Maybe to our modern sensibilities, not so much. But the fact is that Goneril is a married woman, and clearly she's having a physical relationship with Edmund, and this points to her moral corruption. She says to Edmund, this kiss, if it dare speak, would stretch thy spirits up into the air, conceive and fare thee well. I love her self-confidence there. I love her sense that she's telling him, hey, you're lucky You're lucky to have me. You know, I'm going to kiss you here. Know what that means. And if you know what that means, know how lucky you are. So there's something of Lear's arrogance and self-importance in Goneril, but maybe it's just, you know, the words of a woman aware of her own power. Let's give her that. Let's just say that. When Edmund departs, because she doesn't want Edmund to come into conflict with Albany, and she goes to meet her husband, there's this conflict. And one of the great speeches of the play where Albany's disgust, anger, frustration with his wife and her sister for their treatment of Lear comes pouring out of him. And he says, "Oh, Goneril, you are not worth the dust which the rude wind blows in your face. What have you done? Tigers, not daughters. What have you performed? A father and a gracious, aged man, most barbarous, most degenerate." And these are really, really, really forceful words, telling her she's worthless. She's not even worth the dust that blows in her face. And the reason that he feels that this woman, this powerful woman, this wealthy woman is worthless because of her moral degeneracy. He is contemptuous of the way she has treated her father. He calls her a wild animal, tigers, not daughters. So he's offended. No matter what Lear has done, they're his children. So they should have shown him some love, some compassion, some mercy. And then the reference to him being a father, an aged man, and then a gracious man. So there's a lovely triad there. Those three reasons why they should have shown him some compassion, regardless of his behaviour. He's their dad, he's old and weak and vulnerable, and he's God's chosen. And for all those reasons, he believes that what they have done, and that, you know, the repetition of most is most barbarous, most degenerate. He is disgusted by his wife's behaviour. There's a moral line, and Albany feels that Goneril has crossed it. There's a moment really here where Albany represents all of us and their attitude to Goneril and to Regan. She, however, dismisses him. She has no time. Reminds me of the fanatic in Derek Mann's As It Should Be, you know, idle talk. She dismisses his concern with her behaviour as idle talk. And she says, "Where's your drum? France spreads his banner in our noiseless land, which with plumed helm the slayer begins threats, whilst thou," and it's a great moment. And it gives us an insight into Goneril and shows why she's just like Edmund. She calls her husband a moral fool. What a great example of Shakespeare's use of imagery and language. It's a lovely, unusual adjective-noun combination. Is it an oxymoron? Could be. But just that idea that morality equals folly. And doesn't that just, boom, remind you of what Edmund said all the way back in Act 1, Scene 2, when in soliloquy he was laughing at his brother's trusting nature, and he referred to his brother's foolish honesty. So Edmund at the beginning of the play says foolish honesty. Goneril towards the end of the play says moral fool. This sums up these characters and their attitude toward morality. They think it's a foolish thing to have as your guide. They think it's a weakness, and that's why they are representative of the negative, pessimistic view of humanity portrayed in this play. So Goneril and Albany are at loggerheads, but they have to stay together for a while to fight the French invasion. The drama builds. And that's the end of the little summary of Act 4, Scene 2.